Hey, Nick Nitro Elliott again, back in the garage, just providing an update. So last week had the Wild West Bass Tour Socal Division finale. Ended up taking second place, had 19 plus pounds with a 7.62 kicker. Now, for me, it was only two baits that did the damage, and I'll show you that shortly. The lake was El Capitan, water was low, but the fish were still where I expected them to be. So if you don't know already, April and May are probably your best times for throwing the coolbaits underspin, which is the primary weapon that I was throwing in the morning. So right here it is. I paired off with a MC Swim Baits hologram shad, and the key was throwing it not only on clean banks, what I refer to, no vegetation, no stick ups, no wood, but you had to throw it onto the bank and then pull it into the water. That seemed to be the best bet, and I ended up getting a 5 to round out our limit, within the first 40 minutes of the day. So we definitely weren't struggling after that morning flurry, but about 9 o'clock we decided to move, and it was a good choice, because that's where I made the change to this right here, the Neko rig. Threw on that hologram shad, thinking since they bit the coolbaits underspin that they'll bite, a shad color worm. I threw up next to some rocks and grass and probably about a foot of water, and felt that tap. Little did I know that tap was the 7.62 kicker that we got in. So after we landed that, it was just a matter of trying to call up the best we can, probably to get 25 pounds. That's what I was telling my partner we're going to need is 25 pounds to win this. And we were sitting, with that 7-pounder we got in there was sitting pretty good, probably about 15 or so, 15, 16 pounds or so, but it was just, how do we get more? So we moved up to the main part of the lake, and for whatever reason, I decided to throw the drop shot, but didn't get anything. Went back to the underspin for nothing, and then I went back to the Neko rig. And let me show you how I rigged this real fast. So, as you see, the black right here, the O-ring, that's what I slide on, keep it tight. I tried putting on the heat shrink, end up melting a couple of my worms, but I think the O-ring is probably the better bet. Holds the worm. I get a lot of use out of one O-ring, so that's what I do. As for weight, I know a lot of people buy the tungsten weights and it's a better gauge, but me, just one of those simple nails you use to hang up pictures. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Just slide that into the head of the worm. Make sure it's straight in there, and that's it. That's how I rig it. That's how I do my damage. That's how I get it done. Now, back to the overall story. I was throwing the Neko rig around, actually aiming for the outside of the grass, when I finally just realized, like, what are you doing? You caught a 7-pounder in like a foot of water. Why don't you throw it up short? And then I threw it up shallow, and I started seeing there was like holes in like the vegetation, and that's what I was aiming for. And once I started doing that, it was pretty much, every hole I threw into, I caught a fish. And so we were able to cull all the way up to about 19 or so pounds, and that's just where we stuck. I've had a couple opportunities. I set the hook on a few fish, but I decided not to come to the boat. So nothing more you can do, especially with like 8 minutes left before weigh-in. I had one fish on, but it just didn't stick. So overall, I had a lot of fun. Like I said, the key was just following that shad spawn. I did try to throw other colors, hoping that I would take advantage of maybe the bluegill doing their their spawning ritual, but I had no luck with that. It was all shad pattern, or I would say those two baits did the damage. So I'm going to provide some footage from the day in a little later video, just fine-tuning the editing, and I'll also provide an update as for what happened when I was on the Delta. So overall, I had a fun season, finished in about, I think, 5th place overall for the Wild West Bass Trail Socal division, and we'll be heading to Mojave for the championship fish off against the Arizona team. So until that tournament, it's going to be nothing but practice and sharpening my tools. So tight lines, everyone. Nick Nitro, out.